All right. So I'm going to toggle to my screen first, and we'll go from there. All right. Hey, guys, welcome to my Facebook Live that is not live right now. I am not sure why Facebook and Zoom don't want to talk to each other, but don't worry, we're uploading it. That's why you're watching it right now. You're watching the upload. You guys, I have with me today a really, really good friend of mine, somebody who not only do I consider a friend, but I consider a mentor personally. He's someone that I have, I've been inspired by the work that he's doing, and countless people around the country and maybe the world, I don't know, have been inspired by him as well. These are great times to be having these great conversations. And so I have to tell you, I'm super honored to have him here with me. So a big welcome to you, Keith. Keith Mercurio, you guys, welcome.
Thank you very much. That was a beautiful introduction. And by the way, you look this is like your future as a late night talk show host.
I can't take full credit for it. My team did this.
Vote on like Jimmy Kimmel right now. This is, you look beautiful over there.
Now, I will say, I did invite you to join me.
Yes. And this is a great place to start. You invited me to join you, and you sent me a picture of your studio. And I was very compelled because my whole world, I operate far better in person than I do in any other capacity. But I also saw some of your Facebook stream or your Instagram story today, and I saw countless other people in studio with you at various points, and I am not satisfied with your commitment to social distancing. Connected myself to your presence, so I had to very respectfully decline your invitation, along with a little bit of an admonishment of your behavior.
Well, fair enough. I have to tell you that we have been really, really cautious with our team about social distancing, and how we're going about it is we pretty much keep open lines of communication with who they're with. And pretty much everybody on my team has agreed that they go home to be with the same people every single day. They're not going, I mean, unless someone caught something at the grocery store, which I guess, you could nod your head and say that's possible.
Yeah, that's
so, but everybody here at IDCOM has been really, really safe, and so, and really cautious and respectful of each other. And we've done our best to take calculated risks, I'll call it.
You guys are doing so well, and you have been in my thoughts a lot. I mean, for someone who has made their world in the event industry, and thinking about your team that I know and really love from having worked with them, you guys are heavy on my mind, because navigating, so I'm a public speaker, and technically it's mostly illegal to gather in public right now.
It's kind of frowned upon right now to gather in public.
You are an event planning organization. You're an event. Well, what's your technical term? Event production.
Yeah, I mean, we're an event production company. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, our worlds right now are not willing to and not able to accept what we do. And so this is a massive time for reinvention. But you guys are heavy on my mind, because you have a really special team over there, and I would put you as the absolute elite in the industry. And so I really want to see you guys get through this successfully and safely and healthily, because I'm rooting for you big time.
Well, I appreciate that. I have to say it's a lot of getting through this is talking to friends and being open and honest with people. And, I mean, there's all the cards are on the table at this point. You just kind of be as honest and open with your team and your family and your friends. And you're like, we're all in this together. There's no getting around it.
That's for sure. By the way, to that, yep. Cheers to.
What are you drinking right now?
I am going with one of my favorite just bar items, which is the High West Double Rye.
Oh yeah.
I love their stuff out of Utah, of all places.
You show me the label again.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. What is that? Is that a whiskey?
Yeah. Double. It's a rye whiskey, and
cool.
That particularly good. I'm not even a huge rye guy, but that drink's almost like a bourbon. It's one of my favorites.
I'm drinking Casamigos, their the Blanco right now.
Mhm.
Joe, would you do me a favor? By the way, I just want to give a thanks to Joe, who's here helping me tonight. Would you do me a favor and just shut this door? That heater's kind of making some noise. So Keith, I want to talk. This is kind of your wheelhouse, man. This is like what you do is you talk to people about their perspectives and developing themselves maybe into being more socially responsible, just better all around at their work. And so maybe you can kind of give us a background of where you came from and kind of what you're all about. And then I got some really challenging topics for you tonight. So maybe
Well,
start off with who you are.
yeah, I mean, the background is I guess as important as the fact that you're asking the question. I don't usually spend much time on who I am, but I was raised in a nice family, became a college dropout, became a plumber after that, spent years in the plumbing industry, and really found my footing and appreciation for creating results. Like, that was the thing I love most about the work that I did, is that it was tangible. Every day I got done with a project and I could see what I had created. But along the way there, I got introduced to this business development organization. They were called Nexstar. They're still the world's greatest training organization on earth. And I saw what they were doing as far as sales, communication, and leadership training. And it was all rooted in really people with really good hearts. And I was super drawn to it, and eventually went to work for them, ran their training department for 8 years. And only recently just departed from there to take the work that I do to a larger audience as it relates to just any industry. And have been doing that since July. But I focus on my primary topic is, Charlie, is ethical influence. And that's what I became passionate about, was how do we learn to influence people in a way that honors and serves them? And what I realized in the course of the development was I had to do my own personal discovery work in order to gain access to be able to relate to people and to understand people and to align with them. Because the key to moving somebody off of one position into another is you have to find a way to align with them. You have to understand them. And so I had to really go deep into that work myself to understand what compelled me and what had created my patterns, to be able to gain any level of compassion, empathy, or understanding of what leads other people to their own decision making. And so this has been a personal journey alongside a professional journey that's led to the most fulfilling career I ever could have dreamt of. So that's maybe the quickest quickest analysis summary of what brought me to this moment.
Yeah, well, something that I think is so compelling about the work that I've experienced with you is that you're constantly challenging your audience and the people, even just like one-on-one, you're constantly challenging people to be more self-aware of their biases and the rose-colored or whatever colored glasses they see the world through, right? So to me, like, maybe you could kind of start off by helping people understand how you do that, and like what on earth does that even mean?
Okay, great. Yeah. So fundamentally, we've all heard this phrase that perception equals reality, and that we sometimes when we hear something too often, and in fact this is an important thing to understand, when we hear it too often, we start to really lose the appreciation for it. My best example of that was Bob Marley. You listen to him so much in high school and college that it became like almost a joke to you. And then when you started to actually listen a little bit more closely when you got older, you said, man, this guy was really up to something beautiful. But when we get over inundated with something, we stop paying attention to it. And perception equals reality is one of those phrases that we stopped paying attention to, because that is maybe the most profound statement that is worthy of consideration. Because this idea is that perception is the lens through which we experience the world around us. And we've got it that the world is in front of me, behind me, next to me, above me, below me, which makes me the center of the universe. And so our reality is based on our experiences, our context, everything we've learned along the way, but we treat it like it's truth. And as a result of that, anything outside of that truth to us, anything that doesn't align with that, we see it as wrong, misguided, or likely somebody's immorality or lack of ethics, and we really put a lot of judgment on it. And what this causes is it causes us to become fixed in our mindset, and that means that we can't grow from that place. And so the most important concept that I'm consistently delving into is this idea of right and wrong. That people have it, that there are rights, there are things that they're right about, things that others are wrong about. And I always share it this way. I say the most addictive substance on earth is rightness. And when we become convicted in a belief, in order to move off of that belief, no matter how much evidence is being given to us, no matter how much new information is coming our way, once we've become convicted that we're right about something, we have to first admit that we're wrong in order to grow.
Hold on. Whoa. Okay. You just unpacked something really, really big that I'm like trying to digest right now. So what you're saying is that being right is an addicting thing, and that in order to grow, you have to realize that maybe you're not right, and then be okay with it.
Yeah. Well, so if you think about it, so whatever it is, whatever your belief is, if it's the right way of being, the moment that you've attached yourself to being right, and this is as relevant right now as any period I've ever experienced today. Once you've become convicted in your rightness, now, no matter what new information you're giving, no matter what new evidence is put forth, you first have to deal with the impact of being wrong before you can shift your position. And this is what gets people stuck in life. This is why leaders fail to adapt. This is why people struggle to grow. This is why husbands and wives spend lifetimes fighting and eventually drop their marriages, because people would rather be right than successful. People would rather be right than be happy. People would rather be right than in love. I mean, rightness is a really powerful, concept. And so, I'll just ask you this. This is a good example. So if I were to say, like, what does it feel like to be wrong? What does it feel like to be wrong?
Oh, I mean, I hate it. I hate being wrong. And you know what? I had to deal with this really, really harshly with this coronavirus thing, because, I was hearing rumblings of it and people were worried about it. And then I heard South by Southwest canceled, and I'm in the event industry, and I'm like, guys, and I have a decent voice in my industry. And so I was out there going, this is a hoax. Don't listen to this crap. And I've never been that person like online that is putting that kind of vibe out, if that makes sense, generally speaking. And when it all kind of hit, I had to come to the realization that I was really wrong. I had told a lot of people something that was really wrong and potentially dangerous, and I had to own it. And it was like, either own it or continually look like a complete jackass. Mm-hmm. And I had a number of my friends reach out and be like, dude, I am so glad you came out and said you were wrong. I have mad respect, because I was starting to kind of question you a little bit there. And dude, it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to face for myself.
Okay. So this is a perfect example. So I want to, let's just take your own experience here and walk through this, because it's exemplary for everybody to understand their own belief system. All of us have these examples. So let's start with this. Why were you so convicted that you were right? Where was that coming from?
I think it was a combination of thinking it's too scary and too horrible to even be possible, right? Like, it was sheer shock, especially for my industry. Secondly, would be fear for my own company and its people, going, this would be impossible, because that would mean the end of things the way we know them to be.
That's right.
Which makes no sense. And it was really hard staring down the barrel of that gun going, could that actually be? And that would, to me, like, having to like come to terms with that, and then like tell the world I had to come to terms with it and admit that, was really, really hard.
So this is, and it really did, like, I was among your biggest fans when I watched you reverse course on this, because to me, it was one of the finest examples of courage that I've seen in a long time. And I will tell you that in all of my research and all of the work that I do in leadership, courage is so much more compelling than confidence. It's ridiculous. In fact, courage precedes confidence. And I watch people constantly lean into wanting to be confident, and that's all about rightness, instead of being courageous, which is all about vulnerability. And I promise you that you picked up a much more adoring audience, a much more influenced audience the moment that you shifted your perspective than even had you been right on your previous take. Courage is much more compelling, much sexier than confidence is. And so you unpack that and you look at the fact that you had your identity, your belief system, and your past experiences were creating your perception of this new threat, right? And you're sitting there like the rest of us saying, I've watched the media do this before. We went through H1N1. We've been through these other pandemic threats. This is what the media does. And so it fit a pattern. And the human beings are pattern-making machines. We need things to fit within a pattern, and we don't like disruptions to the norms that we know. And this isn't a matter of like preference. This is how we were wired to survive. And so in order to totally understand this, we have to get that from the moment that we were born until we were about 21 years old, we started forming this identity. And this identity was designed to protect us from threats, both physical, emotional, and mental threats. And so once we create our construct of who we are, we live into who we are. And the most compelling, and so when I say identity, I mean your own belief system about who you are in the world, and then how the world is around you. All right. And so as human beings, the most compelling force on earth is to remain consistent with one's own identity. And when you take something like the work you've built, the life you've created, the success you've had, the family that you have, you look at this and you unpack this whole story that has become your identity. This can't be true, or else your identity is in jeopardy. And so in the early stages, you're going to put it into the patterns you've seen and other ways of being. And now what we're up against is a new reality of circumstances that do not fit our pre-existing belief system. Our pre-existing belief system doesn't say this is possible, doesn't say this is the way it's going to be. And so now we're in this massive internal struggle that the non-conscious brain does not want to acknowledge and accept. And that's what we're up against right now, because this is about changing your beliefs, and changing your beliefs is the hardest thing in the world to do, but it's also the only thing that we can do that actually creates massive new trajectories in our lives.
Yeah, it's one of those scary things that you like you said, your beliefs are being questioned and your identity is being questioned through it. And it just blows my mind to think that something so quick, like you spend your whole life, your whole career building this thing and this idea and this vision, and you spend all this money on consultants, and then all of a sudden in like 2 days, it's like, nope,
Right.
off, like a light switch. And I don't know about you, but yeah, I mean, this has impacted your business. You speak to large groups of people. So for any of us to have that happen, I felt like it was an insanely sobering, like 3 or 4 days. And if you ask my wife, I mean, it was like lights on, no one's home.
I was in LA Wednesday, and I was out there to do an event working with this incredible company, and I mean, like, it's just, I can't even begin to express, like, I'm surrounded by such extraordinary people in my life. I mean, the people that I get to do work with they're world-class organizations, businesses, human beings. I'm out in LA, and Monday, we're hugging each other. Tuesday, I'm at an awards dinner, high fives, handshakes, everybody that goes around. Wednesday, we sit down, we watch Trump's press conference. And then this was the moment for me. I watched the NBA cancel the rest of their season. And I'm a follow the money guy, right? And when I watch billionaires walk away from billions, all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute. This is not, I was in such denial. I was right there with you. Even my friends in the medical field kept comparing it to the flu. My parents were calling me, worried about me traveling, and I was telling them they're crazy, weeks before that. And all of a sudden I had my wake up call. And I actually canceled my event for the next day, even though the organization was willing to go on with it. But though we were in collaboration and coordination on the whole topic. I mean, they weren't being, obtuse or anything, but we were just sitting there looking at it. And I just said, they would have gone on with it if I'd asked them to, and we canceled. And that was a massive financial hit to me. And the rest of this will continue to be an extraordinary financial hit to me. And Charlie, I've been, from that moment forward, I have been vacillating between, legitimate like anxiety, panic, and fear, and then leaning into the tools that I know and I've learned and developed and taught over the years to remember how to realign and actually face this going straight forward in a way that's actually going to, create the opportunity to thrive during this rather than just survive it.
Well, thank goodness that I'm not the only one going on this mental roller coaster. I'm like up and I'm down and I'm confident. I'm not confident. I'm thinking to myself, like, could you imagine the people out there? Like, I'm a fairly stable person mentally. And I'm thinking, like, could you imagine someone that's having a legit life dealing with mental health and they're experiencing something to this degree? I mean, where's that conversation right now?
Mental health folks that are, look, man, and I've been right there. Folks that deal with depression, folks that are dealing with severe anxiety, and this is why I want you to really think about, not you, I want humanity to really think about the stuff that we're putting out there into the world. Because every time we post something on Facebook, every time we make a comment to someone about how dire this is or how, bullshit this is or whatever else, I want you to think about, as human beings, I want us all to think about, what are we feeding in this moment? Because somewhere on the other end of that line, there's someone getting the other end of that energy. And as a result, it could be plunging them into a really dark place right now, because we are in an isolation type environment. We are looking at people getting laid off. We are looking at something that doesn't have an end date. That's terrifying. Uncertainty is a really scary place for humans to be from a survival perspective. And it causes us to move right out of our brilliant and beautiful creative mind into survival mode. And when we're in survival mode, we are at our worst. That is the brain that we share with all other animals, the reptilian brain, the amygdala. And when we move back into that place, we act like animals. And so this is part of my commitment right now, is to having conversations with people that bring them out of that survival space and back into, okay, if this is our new norm, how will I learn to thrive? Let me presume this is my new reality, which it is, folks. We don't know how long. And from that place now, how do I re-access my resources? And when I say resources, I mean the brilliance of my non-conscious as a human being, and start to become creative and grateful. Creative, grateful. How do I contribute? And how do I remember to be in gratitude so that I can build up my resilience to be able to adapt to circumstances as they shift?
So that moves me to the next topic. You and I were talking offline before this all started. And one of the things I wanted to ask you is, how do you adapt and find your way? How do you adapt and find your way through this crisis? I mean, we're all kind of on our own path, right? I mean, everyone is.
Yeah. So, for me, I mean, I have spent years in deep personal development work and research, study and practice to even get to the point that I'm at, to where, I mean, man, I used to, like, my anxiety, my thought patterns, the way that I used to get wrapped up in stuff would completely disconnect me from the world around me. I've spent years to get to the place where I can remain somewhat present. What I will say is that I think people misunderstand this concept of gratitude. I think people think gratitude is about feeling good, and I think they think it's about positivity without understanding the neuroscience behind what gratitude can do for us as it relates to resilience. So gratitude is the pathway to resilience. And
Okay, hold on. Say that again. Go deeper on that.
yeah, so here, all right. So I want you to think of it this way. So that, my Butch Harmon was a swing coach for Tiger Woods, for Phil Mickelson, for the top golfers in the world. And he was asked once, they said, what separates the top 20 golfers in the world from everybody else who practices just as hard, has the same talent, same technical equipment, whatever? What's the one thing? He didn't even hesitate. He said resilience. He said that these guys, these top golfers in the world, these men and women, they move on and get focused on the next shot faster than anybody else. They forget the bad bounce. They forget the bad lie. They forget the bad call. They forget what just happened and focus on what they can do with what they've got. All right. So the question is, how do you build resilience? And resilience is a muscle. We can't just summon it. If you said, I want to go out and be more resilient, that's like just deciding you're going to be stronger. You don't just decide you're going to be stronger. You have to do the work to become stronger. And this is about taking your brain to the gym. And now you've heard me talk about, for example, the 5-5, 20+1 morning routine.
Heck yeah, it's one of my favorite things you teach on.
Okay.
I'm not good at doing. Hey,
very
I want to be clear though. It doesn't mean I'm good at doing it, because like I'm still figuring that part out. But I love the concept of it.
Well, and just like you love the concept of going to the gym, and maybe some days you're great at it, maybe some days you're not. If you're like me, it's a struggle. And, this has been a struggle for me. I've been doing it since 2014 with great consistency, but still I go through significant periods of dropping it. But the idea of this 5-5, oh, nice. You came back. I lost you there for a moment.
Yeah, I think that other camera died. Anyways, you can continue.
All right. So the 5-5, 20+1 routine, what this thing's about is, waking up every morning, listing 5. By the way, this is why Charlie's not that good at this, because every time I talk about it, he leaves the room. But listing 5 gratitudes as soon as you wake up, listing 5 goals for that day specifically, and then engaging in some sort of 20 repetitions of exercise, push-ups, squats, whatever, something to get you immediately engaged and active, and to do so in a way where we add 1 every day. So 20, and then 21, 22, 23, 24, and build up some momentum. And there's something really special about starting every day with an accomplishment. And so, Charlie, don't worry, I was making fun of you while you were gone. And this, so now the reason I give you this is just like giving you a workout routine for building resilience, because every time we think a thought, feel a feeling, we fire a neural pathway in the brain. The more neural pathways that we fire, the more often we fire that neural pathway, the more myelin, more protein begins to cover that neural pathway, therefore making it more accessible. So here's what happens. If we are in a experience of consistently focusing on the negative in life, focusing on what's wrong in life, focusing on what's wrong with others in life, being committed to only our own existing belief system, all we're doing is building up those neural pathways, which means in a moment of crisis, in a moment of confrontation, in a moment of something, showing up different, we resort to the muscles we already know how to work. So becoming resilient is about seeing opportunity when circumstances are not in our favor.
So hold on, before you move down that path, what it sounds like what you're saying is this isn't some like foo-foo cooked up pie in the sky, like, oh, well, if you're nicer and you're happier and whatever, you'll be more resilient. There's physical proof that this is actually a thing, that the brain paves a pathway in the direction that you force it to over time.
This is neuroscience. This is pure neuroscience. So I'll give you, probably the strongest example of this. What's your what beautiful vehicle are you currently driving these days?
I drive a Mercedes SUV.
Okay. So at some point in time, you went into the process of wanting to purchase this car. You discovered it, you started researching it, you picked a make, a model, whatever else, right? And you decided that this Mercedes, which one is it? The specific one?
GL 450.
GL 450. So you got super specific about it, but you decided you were going to get this GL 450, which isn't even that common a vehicle, right? Like by the numbers alone, it's not that common. And yet you bought this vehicle, decided on this vehicle, purchased this vehicle, and for the next 3 weeks on the road, what suddenly started to appear in magical numbers?
Yeah, they're everywhere now. All of a sudden, everyone's got my freaking car.
Right? So this is what happened. What you'd done is you'd activated the reticular activating system of your brain. This is a piece of the brain that lives in the non-conscious, and it is designed, like what it normally does is just function in the background, handling stuff like your breathing, your heartbeat, your blinking, all this stuff that we do non-consciously. But what's also happening during this time is that when it's given a new command, when it's given a new point of attention, it suddenly becomes this massively impactful investigator in finding evidence to support new beliefs and awarenesses. So in the same way that you just simply decided to go ahead and buy a car and got interested in a particular car, and suddenly that car seemed to appear everywhere as though it was magic, right? And now, oh, it's everywhere. Imagine if we could take that same mechanism and tune it towards opportunities, gratitudes, that which is good, that which is possible, or if we're accidentally tuning it towards that which is wrong, others who are wrong, beliefs that just reinforce our own existing beliefs, no matter what direction you point that focus, you're going to find it. And so this is why, you know, what frustrates me about positive thinking, motivational speaking, the work that's so often being done is that it's focused around sort of feel-good concepts. And I'm not talking about feeling good. Feeling good is nice, and I prefer it to feeling bad. And I recommend it over feeling bad. But the point is that there's conditioning to be done on a daily basis that allows us to actually handle and see the world differently day in and day out by programming the non-conscious to find new possibility and opportunity. And this is done by gratitude, goal setting, and asking yourself better questions.
So when you say asking yourself better questions, what on earth does that even mean? When I think about, like, how do I ask myself better questions? What do you mean by that?
Good question. So first of all, what I'll show you is that you just asked an open-ended question. And open-ended questions are part of this. So every day we're having an internal dialogue with ourselves. Constantly, right? This thing never shuts off. There's an internal conversation always happening. Now, right now, if you're looking at the current state of your business, and you're saying, hey, I'm in the event world. And so, there's no way that I can, how am I supposed to possibly thrive in a world where events don't happen, right? Well, this is a bad question because it's already supposing and creating the outcome. Okay? And so the quality of the question we ask is in direct proportion to the quality of the life that we get to live. And so instead of asking, hey, how am I supposed to thrive in a world, right? This already assumes that there's no opportunity for this, right? What am I supposed to do? Look, they laid me off. What was I supposed to do about it? The economy's tanking. What am I supposed to do in that, right? We're asking questions like this, and we consistently state these positions versus saying, so what if I had to assume that this is going to be the new standard? How, as an extraordinary business leader, ingenious thinker, maverick in my industry, could I help to reinvent the world of events in a way that would allow people to still connect even when we can't be together? That's a much more compelling question to ask.
Well, and I'm sorry I'm being quiet here because I'm thinking through the things you're saying. And one of the things that I keep like repeating in my mind is I know people who don't do so well for themselves. And I know people that do very well for themselves. And one thing I can immediately identify with when you're saying this is they ask themselves, like they internalize and ask the world completely different questions, which is blowing my mind right now because I think a lot of the questions I ask myself have led me to here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have come up with some thoughts of my own about this situation that I forced myself into a corner to figure out what in the heck is going on and how do I find peace in this. And so I spent a lot of time figuring this out. Ask my wife. She'll tell you. She'll tell you I've been absent-minded, but I have figured out a way to move forward and have a path forward, regardless of the outside circumstance at this point. And putting a plan in place and asking myself the right questions, that's made all the difference in the world to have peace. Like I don't know about you, but during this time with all this crazy stuff going on, I just want some peace about what's going on. So.
And you know what? The desire for peace, though natural, is going to lead us to lazy answers.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay? Because right now, what we want is certainty, right? You say peace, but certainty is really what the driver is. You know, it's funny, we can exist outside of peace as long as we just know what's happening. It's the uncertainty that makes it so scary.
Yes, 100%.
There's no timeline on this. We don't know when's the bottom going to hit. We don't know if we're going to get sick. I mean, this is like absolutely, I'm going to say it this fucks with every element of who we are as human beings.
100%.
There is nothing about this that fits within the context of how we're designed to live. And so, I mean, it's causing us isolation, which, human beings are dependent upon, upon social interaction for our survival. It's literally a threat to survival. It's a threat to the economy. It's a threat to our own identities. I mean, it's at every level, man. We are facing, really significant stuff right now. And so the ability to ask yourself new questions will be the key here. Because what we tend to do is we set up either or scenarios. Well, if this happens, then this. I can either be, I remember this happened, years ago. I was challenged by my former CEO, Jack Tester. He said he wanted me to start showing up at the office earlier. Okay. And I mean, I already got there early. I got there at like 7:30, which I thought was pretty early.
That's really early.
I thought that was pretty good.
Don't dare come to my office. I'm going to tell you that right now.
I thought that was pretty good. And he was challenging me to get to the office earlier. And I remember the minute that he said to me, he expressed his belief about it that, if you arrive before your employees, it really sets a different standard. So I got what he was saying. And he was moving me into a management leadership role. And I remember this is what I thought to myself. I thought, but if I commit to getting to the office earlier, then I can't live the life that I live at home every night. And the life I lived at home, came home, I worked out, I had dinner, I'd have some drinks, I'd go see friends, I'd be up till, 11 o'clock at night, whatever, and I'd go to bed and then wake up to get to the office at 7:30. And I had this thought where it was like, either I can be at the office earlier or I can't have the friendships that I, previously had and the lifestyle that I previously had. And what I was failing to do was ask myself the question, the question I really needed to ask in that moment, Charlie, was how can I show up earlier as a better leader and continue to live a fulfilling, exciting, like energized social and personal life and be the best version of me as a leader. The minute that I asked myself a new question, I found new ways to handle and new opportunities, new answers to that question. When we set up either or scenarios, either I'm going to do this or this, then we've already concluded the answer before we ever even ask the question. Don't even bother asking it. Does that make
Interesting. So you're saying don't even bother asking a question if you're answering it before you allow yourself the process of figuring out what really is the point.
Dude, we do it all the time. We're constantly asking ourselves these questions where we're like, well, why would I do that? What's that going to get me? You listen to the tone of the question. You're asking it this way internally. Well, who wants, like,
I mean, who the heck wants to listen to me anyways? I'm nobody. I mean, why are you going to listen to the things I have to say? I'm the son of a steel worker from Brooklyn. I'm a nobody. I take your trash out. Get out of here.
I always know we've reached a special point in the conversation when you're bringing out your accents and your impersonations, but that's so good, dude. That was such a great example of it because we are regularly asking ourselves. So here's, I'll just finish with this because I think I've run on quite a bit here, and I want to say it this way. The science tells us that human beings have between 40 and 60,000 thoughts per day. Of those thoughts, 98% are identical to yesterday. And of those, 80% of them are negative. Now,
wow, that's pretty profound to think that you can repeat, like that the brain is capable of repeating that level of stuff to that accuracy every day.
Dude, we're just operating inside of a system, brother. And now, if you don't think that sounds true, I want you to just think about the first 5 minutes of your day. Not just you, but anybody that's possibly still listening at this point or watching. And I want you to consider this reality. Your alarm goes off. What goes through your mind?
Ah, crap, I gotta get out of bed. I'm so tired. I drank too much tequila last night. How many more snooze buttons can I hit?
Right? And then
by the way, I don't think like that at all. So that's
yeah,
like, I have friends like that.
That wasn't that natural as you
No.
Right? And I mean, and then like you really take that and run with it, and whoever can relate to this, like it's not even just, oh, I drank too much. It's like, wow, I always drink too much. When am I going to get over this? When am I going to grow up? I mean, it's like so there's your, then you hit snooze, then you go through it again. Then you get out of bed, then you go and you walk into the bathroom, maybe to go take your shower, right? And you get the first glimpse of yourself in the mirror naked. And then you start having those thoughts about your body.
You're like, ah, crap, I haven't been to the gym in weeks. What am I going to do with this big fat belly I got on my front end that I'm carrying around 6 bottles of Scotch whiskey in my gut right now?
Yeah.
I drank too many beers. It's chasers to all. I could go on.
You're doing a beautiful job of taking all of the meaning out of this moment. And I appreciate it. And the world needs it right now, and that's why we're doing it with a little cocktail hour. Because and that anyway. So you start to look at just the first 5 minutes of your day, and you realize that the possibility that 98% of the thoughts are the same as they were yesterday morning, and 80% of those are negative, is very realistic. And then you start to look at your ongoing interactions and everything that's going on. So the key is, man, we've got to get really clear about this concept of, intentionality. Gratitude, goals for the day, engaging in physical activity so as to shift the chemical balance inside of the brain and the body, and then asking ourselves new questions, right? And what we call these are, and someday you and I we'll do a bit on this, we'll talk about this, but these ideas of empowering questions. How will I, like right now, how will I today, as a empowering, inspiring, and committed leader, how will I help and serve my teammates to see new possibilities in the face of the very circumstances we're facing and decide how we're going to thrive rather than just survive through this moment? That would be a question worth asking your non-conscious. Now, the moment I asked that question in my non-conscious, it's no different than the moment that you started researching and decided to buy that Mercedes of yours. You have just awakened the reticular activation system to going out and finding ways to answer that question the same way it went out and suddenly discovered every damn Mercedes on the road that looked like yours.
I mean, really any Mercedes at all is what I see. So
That's your thing. You know what I don't notice? Mercedes. Because I drive a Super Duty. I notice every truck on the road.
oh, you do. You drive that really big, like it's like a monster truck. Like I think my car's like large, and then I see yours, and I'm like, okay, that's obscene. Okay.
Now, just to be clear, it's just a stock Super Duty. It's not even lifted or anything.
I know, but it's a Super Duty, and you live in an apartment in downtown Minneapolis.
1,000 square feet of glory, right?
Oh, dude, we need to get you a farm so you could do something with your Super Duty. Are you working on it?
Hold on. I'm coming back. Hold on. I got to show you something that showed up today.
All right, sounds good. It's the deed to his new farm, I'm sure. Keith, I'm going to need another bottle of tequila if you're going to make us wait this long.
Coming back. Dude, so I have had, for years, I wanted a proper cowboy hat. Speaking to this point, today, my custom cowboy hat arrived in the mail that I had.
Oh, why didn't you wear that the whole time? What the heck, man?
I wanted to, trust me. I want to wear this every day for the rest of my life as long as I live. Look at this beautiful thing.
That thing is beautiful. That thing looks like it's been made for you.
No, it literally was custom. You can't see that. It says especially made for Keith Mercurio. It was custom.
No way. Where do you get something like that?
So I got this from KJ Hat Fitters out in Santa Ynez, California. This is a one-man shop. Took 4 months for this thing to come in. Came in the mail today. Dude, I'm dead serious.
Oh my gosh. I want one.
Let's do it.
I want one. You got to show me where to get one. Do you just measure your melon and send it in, or?
They put this guy has this contraption from like the 1800s, and this thing fits around your head and takes like 30 different points to create the perfect like outline of your head.
Wait, so you actually had to measure your head?
Dude, so they put this thing, this guy, it's just this one guy, Kevin. This is what he does. He builds custom cowboy hats for people. And you pick the exact, like if you want, this is 100% beaver. And you go and you figure out the fabric, the color, you know, the little details, but most specifically, they fit it exactly, decide on what kind of vibe you're going to do with it as far as all the different designs. You can do it however you want. But this thing fits exactly to my head. It's
well, you know, here's the problem, dude. Now you can't let your head get any bigger. You know, when you get all famous and stuff, that hat's not going to fit.
This is to suggest I'm not already famous. I'll have you know that there are.
Yeah, I know you're a big deal. Okay, I know you're a real big deal. I know we're not worthy. I love you, man. I love you so much.
Exactly.
Oh,
and I'm really proud of the work that you're doing to shift your model. And even this, this studio that you're sitting in right now is a beautiful example of you deciding how you're gonna, start to evolve. And I realize that, this alone won't be a sustainable business model for you. But Charlie, these questions for you, for me, for all of us, how will I, as an extraordinary leader, as an innovator, you see that we're being assumptive when we state this to the non-conscious. And now you're taking that non-conscious, this non-conscious that's processing between 40 and 60 million, 20 and 40 million bits of data per second. And now we're alivening it to this new awareness.
It's a wonder we can do anything, drive a car, even have a conversation with thinking about that many things.
But the thing is that we're not thinking about any of those things, Charlie. Our conscious mind is only handling about 20 bits of data per second. Meanwhile, the non-conscious is handling 20 to 40 billion bits of data per second. These are two totally different worlds. We think through the conscious mind. We don't. We make our decisions in the non-conscious, and then we rationalize it in the conscious mind. So when we really want to learn, and this is what I've spent my life dedicated to, how to elevate our level of performance, it's how do we access the non-conscious and to transform the non-conscious. And that's done by asking new questions that create a new point of focus that awaken the reticular activation system to discover new possibilities.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like the non-conscious mind is doing all the heavy lifting. And if you can get it to be working for you constantly, you're going to see a change because it's doing all this work all the time without your permission.
That's it. That was beautifully said.
Well, anytime you need a sidekick on stage, just let me know. I mean, I'm available right now.
Brother, just provide the stage.
Oh my gosh. It's funny. I every morning I wake up and I'm like, I'm in the business of gathering large groups of people.
It's crazy, right? Like what we do is so not cool, right?
Well, we're going to get through it. I'm very optimistic about it. And I'm just really grateful to have friends like you help keep my mind in check. And I'm sure everybody that's watching this is thankful for that as well. I am curious if you'd be open to doing this maybe on a semi-regular basis with me and the guests or the viewers so that we can keep this conversation going.
If you're asking me to go steady, I'm interested. I like the idea of, I think as long as it's really serving people, and that's the feedback I would love to get. If people are deriving value from it, then I'm willing to do it, because all of this stuff to this day makes me uncomfortable. I've been on stage in front of tens of thousands of people and I still get uncomfortable putting myself out there. But if it's bringing something to people, then we keep doing it.
Well, one thing I like about you, Keith, is that you're not full of crap. And when you say that, you mean it, which is very meaningful. So thank you. Next time, we'll have you join me right here, if I can show you guys, on my beautiful couch.
Yes.
And you can sit here. We can pour scotch. We can BS about everything there is to BS about. We'll figure it out.
By the way, have you found yourself, are you drinking more and sleeping in later as a result of this thing?
No way. Not even a little bit. Nope. And the reason I'm not doing that is because I am committed to getting my team and my organization through this. And if I start using it as an excuse to slip and slack and chill, and absolutely not. I have, let's be honest, there's been some nights where I'm like, all right, I can't handle my thoughts anymore. It's time to drink a lot. but that's only been a couple times. And mainly because I'm like, I have a responsibility to my family, to my organization, to my employees, to my industry, to stay sharp and stay leading edge and not slip. It's an easy time to lose it's an easy time to lose it. It's a good excuse. It's a good excuse to backslide. And I have decided, at least thus far, that that's not going to serve me. It's not going to serve my people. It's not going to serve my family. So
I'm impressed by that. Admittedly, not the same. I have fully, especially last week, man, I got indulgent with it for sure. It was a really wild week, and I did live into that and then fought out of it. And so, to your point, not being full of whatever, I think it's important to admit that I was there. And this is my point about this week. Last week was our week for getting our bearings. This week is our week for getting dialed in.
Yep. I'm 100% on board with that. I think we're going to come out of this stronger as individuals. I think our country's going to come out stronger. I've done some really great changes here at our business that are lasting changes that are going to be really good for our whole team.
Dude, we're going to have this off together, man. This is going to be great. All right. I'm fully in on doing this on a regular, semi-regular, whatever that looks like. I'll follow your lead on this. You're my
Yep. Yeah, and I'm going to leave this beautiful place set up just like this. And I've got a bunch of people that want to use it for stuff. And I'm like, whatever, come in and use it. We got to get our messaging out to people. So did you notice I did my own switching? See, camera 1, camera 2, camera 1. I'm not even a technician, dude, and I'm doing this.
I'll tell you, this reminds me, I try not even to look at myself during this because like, there was the famous Kennedy Nixon debate in whatever that was, 60, what was that, 68? I don't know. But, ultimately they said that those who listened to it on radio thought that Nixon won, and those who saw it on TV knew that Kennedy won because Kennedy just looked. Do you not know about this?
I don't know. I'm going to look at it right now.
This is a really important, historical shift in, this is, by the way, the beauty of working at home. My wife is just casually running a microwave over here. She's got, we're still recording.
We're still recording, Bryn, but that's okay. It's okay. Go ahead and have his wife, by the way, you guys, is so much fun. And Keith, you found a good one. I don't know how you landed her. I don't know what kind of smooth talking you were doing, but good job on that. Bryn, you're a rock star.
Yeah. But no, very famously, Kennedy, like when they looked at the two of them on screen, anyone who watched the two of them, how vibrant and handsome and well lit Kennedy was compared to Nixon, they all decided that that's how I feel. As I look over at myself, I feel like Nixon. And I look at you and you look like a young JFK right now, beautifully lit, totally vibrant. And this is just, so I've been like avoiding, I'm just going to.
So you're bringing the wisdom and the knowledge, and here I am, well lit in all of my glory. I'm sorry, that was the worst Kennedy ever.
I liked it. You started off pretty strong.
Yeah, well, it fell apart. All right, look, thank you for hanging out with me tonight. Stay on the line for a second while I wrap this up. You guys, thank you for hanging out with me, and Keith, thanks for joining us. Come on back, and we're going to get through this time. I'll tell you what, I know we're going to get through it. You're going to get through it. The thing I keep telling people, I keep repeating to everyone, is that your industry needs you. Don't give up on it. All right. I'll see you guys soon. See ya.